What's going on? This is Ryan with Automatic Comics, and up next, got a CGC unboxing. 3 books in here from the standard tier, so a little bit bigger books. Some fun ones, so stay tuned to see what the grades are, because I have not checked yet. So before we get started, please remember to hit that like button and hit the subscribe button if you'd like to see more content like this. So I've got another CGC unboxing here. This one, it's the one that I mentioned in my last video. It got back really, really quick. This is a standard submission. This was 3 books. That kind of the little kind of like trick or whatever you want to call it that you can use to get your books at least into queue quicker is that I had an express book in that submission. It had to be in the express anyway, but sometimes people will just put a book into the express tier so the books get opened. But this was the standard submission, so it got put right into the queue when the express book was opened, and so that was February 7th. I received this exactly 1 month later on March 7th. So for standard submission, 30 days total, not just business days, so like 20 business days door to door, when they're saying just their own turnaround time in-house is like 45 or 50 days right now. Really, really fast. So I've been seeing a lot of quick turnaround times with CGC recently with recent submissions. Now, people that submitted books a long time ago, they seem to be stuck in some type of submission hell or limbo, and they are just taking forever to get back. But I've seen Skeff from Skeff's Comic Knowledge do a number of unboxings recently where he sent books in. It was like modern fast track pre-screen, and they were there for 3 days. Like they opened them on the 28th of February or 28th of March and shipped them back on the 31st of March, which is just crazy. But these ones, very quick. There's 3 books in here, like I said. Now, 2 of them should be restored. I hope 3 of them are not restored. So I am expecting restoration. I'm expecting purple labels on 2 of them. One of them, a lot of restoration. The other one, very little. If you watched my prior video about the submissions for these, you should have maybe an idea at least what one of those books are. One of the books was the Avengers one that I picked up from Very Gary's Claim Sale, bought it from Jay, and that one just had a ton of marker and pen on the cover. I am expecting something like a C4 or a C5, so basically like the highest levels of amateur restoration, because it's like permanent marker and pen, that kind of thing. So tons on that one. The other one is the Boy Comics number 7. So that's one of these early World War II covers that features Hitler, Hirohito, or no, I think it's Hitler, Mussolini, and Tojo, I think are the 3 kind of like axis of evil people on that cover. And so I am expecting a small amount of color touch. I think there might even be some glue on that one. And but I think that'll probably be like a C1. And so, but I'm going to try to not see these here, so we'll see how I can do this. Okay, so there's the top. So I'm going to try not to look at these. And so we'll see what the first one is. I think, yep, okay. So this is the first book. Let's see which one this is. All right, so this is the Avengers number 1. This, I am expecting a 0.5. This is a very low-grade book, 0.5 restored, but I still wanted to send it in just to get it in the slab. Still look cool in the slab, and you can see, without showing the grade, all kinds of marker and everything on there. This is all like highlighted over where he was because it was worn away, so somebody kind of like drew it back in. But let's see if it's the 0.5, C4, C5. And yes, so that's what it is. This is a 0.5. It is complete, so that's a big plus. So you can see there's no notes on here that say that there's anything missing from the book, but 7 extra staples added afterwards, a lot of staples. And you can see that C4, moderate to extensive restoration. So there is a significant amount of color touch that is on this book. And so you can see it is very beat up. You know, back cover looks a little better than the front, I guess, but still also very beat up. Now this one, the reason I didn't choose to have the restoration removed is because it's all of this. It's like where the Avengers is written in. It's all over Thor. And so if you had it removed, you'd basically be cutting off like half the front cover. And so this one, it's better just to keep it at the 0.5 restored, because the reality is .5 purple labels sell for about the same as .5 blue labels. The lower you get in grade, the less separation you get between the universal and the restored price. I often see purple label .5 sell for the same as blue labels. So not really a big deal to me. I just thought it would be a fun book to get in the slab, just because I was talking about having just the worst copies of these early Avengers books. I will likely be selling this book, but I just thought it would be a cool one to get slabbed, just so I can make sure I can show people, yes, there is restoration. I'm not trying to like trick someone or something like that when I sell it if I was selling it raw. So yeah, so that's the first one. Still, Avengers #1. Awesome book. All right, now the next one, I don't know what order these are going to come out in. So, okay, so let's see, which one is this? Okay, so this is the Boy Comics #7. Again, like I said, I am expecting a purple label on this one, and I'll explain why I was okay with that. I probably could have had the restoration removed, but I just chose not to. But so you can see here, you've got Tojo, Hitler, and Mussolini on the front there being chased. It's also an American flag cover, which are always they're cool covers, and there are not many covers in this run that feature those Axis of Evil leaders. I believe it's just Boy Comics 4, which I just recently purchased, and 7. And so this is one of those, and I think I was expecting a 225 for this one, but there was a pretty significant spine split, and I think detached at the top staple, if I remember. And so I think 225 is where this book is going to be at. And you can see it's missing this little piece down here. So let's see. Yeah, 2.0. Okay, so I'm not really disappointed with that. It's in the grade range that I was expecting. And you can see here, restoration includes small amount of color touch on cover, very small amount of dried glue on spine of cover. And so that dried glue actually probably wouldn't even give it the purple label. It sounds like maybe that's not actually even doing anything since it's saying it's dried glue. The color touch is what would, and you could kind of tell where it looks like somebody probably tried to remove the color touch at one point. It's where that scraping is on the side there. And I think they just didn't get all of it or something like that. I think there's a little more. I think that's where the actual color touch is. You can see right down here. And so you see where there's a slightly different color from the other black. And that's where that color touch probably is. I could have paid to have that color touch removed. Now, the reason I didn't was kind of the logic that I had for the Avengers. It's a lower grade book. I think the value with the blue label versus the purple label is going to generally be very similar. And because there are 15 copies of this book on the census. It is a rare book. And so I think there's one other copy that's on eBay right now, and it's like a, what is it? I think it's like a 3.0 CBCS or something like that, and it's for like $2,000. So, so you can get that one, or you can pick up this book, which will be slightly more affordable than that. And if you want to crack it out, the person could purchase it and have that color touch removed if they chose to. But yeah, this is it's a rare book. Pretty nice colors in reality. But yeah, a fair amount of spine splitting, which was just going to really hurt the grade for that, and that little bit missing on the bottom there. But still, a pretty nice presenting copy of this book. Now, one thing I want to point out, and this is why I say always check your books regardless of where you buy them from. I bought this from Heritage, and they did not identify this book as having restoration on it. And now I noticed the restoration when I got it. I chose to keep the book regardless because of just the rarity of it. I didn't want to send it back. I probably could have done a return. If you open them and find an issue within like 7 days, you can still do a return. But I chose not to just because the book is so rare anyway. I decided to keep it anyway. And the really interesting thing is, so when I saw the restoration, I went and checked the site. They had sold this book like 2 or 3 years prior to that, and they had identified the restoration. And so they sold the same book. One time they identified the restoration, the second time they didn't. And so that is why it is important to check your own books. Never trust who you are buying the books from, because it doesn't matter how big of a deal it is. I mean, this is Heritage Auctions. This is like about as big as it gets, and they missed the restoration. And so that's something where you've got to be aware of that, and always make sure to check your own books do not trust anybody when they're telling you what that book. You check it yourself. Trust your own eyes. All right, now for the last book, and so this one should be Manhunt number 14, and so you can see here, this is this really cool pre-code kind of like horror type cover. Got this creepy tiny little guy. You've got the kind of like Good Girl Art bondage headlights cover thing going on. The girl in the red dress type stuff, and this guy busted in to save her from whatever this guy is trying to do, whether it's take her blood or inject her with something. I don't know if he's already injected her, whatever it might be. But this one is a very nice presenting copy. The main issue is that it has a huge spine split. It's like 7 inches or something like that up the spine. The top staple was still attached when I submitted this book, or one of the staples was still attached. I believe it's the top staple when I submitted this book. I hope it is still attached. With how I send it in, I was expecting a 225. Now, it looks a lot nicer than a 225, but because of that major spine split, it's that type of flaw I talked about with the Fantastic Four number 3 that I opened previously. Those flaws that when they're on the spine are great because they make the book look great. It's a much more affordable. For example, a 5.0 of this book just sold on Heritage about a week ago for like $3,840, something like that. And so not a cheap book in any grade, rare book. This book, I believe, there are 33 total copies on the census, 30 universal. And so I'm hoping this is another universal. 225 is what I'm expecting, and 1.8, a little lower than I was expecting. I feel like that's a little, it looks like they detached the staple. Yeah, they 100%. That's frustrating. That's the second book out of 4 that I've sent in where they have detached a staple. I mean, yeah, look at that. That was not like that when I sent it in. It's like they're like manhandling these books. That is really frustrating. I can guarantee you this book was not detached at that staple when I sent it in. So that is pretty frustrating because that's the second book now that I feel I've gotten a lower grade because of how CGC is handling the book. It's one thing to complain if you disagree with a grade, that kind of stuff. It's another thing if they're damaging the books when you send them in. And this is the second time out of 4 books that I've sent in that they have detached a staple, that they've added additional damage to the books. And the whole purpose of sending these in, getting them graded and slabbed, is to retain their grade, to not have that type of issue. And so you can see it's a very nice presenting copy, but that is very frustrating. And obviously it's nothing that you can complain about. I've heard plenty of people try to complain to CGC about it, and they just basically go like, whatever, it's your problem. So yeah, I am very frustrated with that because they added damage to the book. They definitely added damage to the book. But still, it's not bad. It's a rare book. But again, another book that is, 1 grade bump, or half grade, whatever you want to call it, because 1.8 versus 2 below what I expect because of something they've done to it. So yeah, frustrating, but still a really, nice looking copy, cool book. And again, so rare that if you you're not, I don't think there are any on eBay at the moment. And like I said, it's just not a book you really hardly ever see come up for sale. And it fits into my, my 1.8s that I always seem to come across. So maybe CGC has seen my videos and they're like, oh, he wants a 1.8. Let's wreck his book a little bit to make sure he gets it. But yeah, is what it is. But 3 pretty cool books, I think. Pretty rare pre-code horror book. Good Girl Art type cover. Manhunt number 14. Boy Comics number 7. World War II book featuring Hitler, Tojo, and Mussolini. American flag cover. And then the last one, this very low grade but complete copy of Avengers number 1 in a 0.5 with lots of restoration marker on and everything. So yeah, fun unboxing regardless of the damage that was done to my book. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please hit that like button, hit the subscribe button if you'd like to see more content like this. I've got more videos over here if you'd like to watch some of my other videos, and the subscription button right here. If you'd like to subscribe to the channel, I would really appreciate it, and I will see you in the next video.